you for such a great panel. And Lisa, as always, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. All right, my friends, I'm going to introduce a friend of all of ours, Jesse Alderman. Come on out, Jesse. We'll go ahead and get this next panel going. We're going to talk about what's going on from a federal level. Are you so excited? Are you so excited? Grab a mic over there. Sit in like the second to last chair there. You'll be fine. Let's give it up for Jesse, please, and his panel. A little federal forecast. Thank you, guys.
All right, welcome everybody. I was gonna joke that we could say we really don't have a clue and end the panel early, but we do have tea leaves. We do know there's rumblings of big changes afoot, and we're gonna talk about the federal perspective, both on the hemp, intoxicating hemp and hemp side, as well as the THC side. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jim Higdon. Tell us a little bit about himself.
Hi, Jesse. Hi, I'm Jim Higdon. I'm co-founder of Cornbread Hemp. We're based in Louisville. We started as a D2C company in the hemp side, full spectrum CBD products. We've moved into THC gummies and THC beverage products on the hemp side, and we're happy to be here.
And Richie Proud.
Hey everybody, nice to see you. My name is Richie Proud. I serve as the CEO and director of iAnthus Capital Management. We have around dispensaries across the country, getting ready to open up wholesale operations here in Ohio. Excited to be here to talk to you about this topic, which I don't even know how we're going to get started on this one. So.
Well, I'll give it a shot. So, as we all know, in 2024, the Biden administration promulgated a proposed rule to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. And Richie, what's happened since then, and where are we going with that rule?
That's a great question.
There was
I heard you know all the details. You talk to Trump every morning?
I've got all of this. There was a funny video that circulated many years ago of Donald Rumsfeld talking about the weapons of mass destruction. And he said there are known knowns.
Known knowns, known unknowns.
Known unknowns.
And unknown unknowns.
Unknown unknowns, right? Perfect setup for exactly what this conversation is like. What are the known knowns? The known knowns are May of 2024, Biden recommends DEA take a peek at this, move from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Here we are in 2025, nothing has happened. That's the known. I think that any of us who are connected to banks, investors, so forth and so on, we are getting calls on a regular basis as to what they think is going to take place. And so where we sit today is, okay, well, the information that we understand is this is still being looked at from a federal perspective. I think when we start talking about how Trump is viewing this, it's going to get really interesting. But from the DEA perspective, this is still waiting to be discussed. There are lawyers that are involved. There are opinions that have been written on what this is going to look like. But for me, as an operator of a business, I look at this from a couple different lenses. One, there's a business that I have to operate. 2, there are jobs that I need to create. And 3, there are investments that we need to make. And so I'm very keen on how this is going to play out, but I don't think it plays out very quickly. Neither should we prepare for it to play out very quickly.
Is there anything as an operator you're doing to anticipate rescheduling, or is this something best to wait and see, operate the fundamentals of your business, and when the time comes, adapt?
Don't want to hang the value of the organization on what could or could not happen in Washington. But I do think from a operator perspective, there are certainly things we can do to be prepared for what this looks like. Certainly, we know there is tax implications that take place, so we start discussing what that's going to look like. From cannabis companies, most of us are incorporated inside Canada, so you get some type of movement as to whether you're going to transition that from Canada to the United States. A lot of it comes down to how we think about capital investments and regulatory environments. We're beefing up compliance teams to make sure that we're very well aware of the rules. I don't think once rescheduling takes place, compliance becomes less. I think compliance becomes a little bit more. I might be in the minority, but I do think there is a very much a careful what you wish for mentality as it relates to this, that we just don't know what that's going to be in the future. We know the rules that exist today. We learn to live within the rules that exist today. It's hard to prepare for rules of tomorrow outside of what is inside of my controllables.
So here, and Jim, feel free please to chime in too, because I know you follow all this as a related business. We hear so much about rescheduling because there's a rule on the books to reschedule cannabis. And the cannabis issue is so curious to me as it relates to Donald Trump, right? Because Donald Trump is nothing if not transparent about what his intentions are. He came in on day one and issued like 900 executive orders. He ripped up regulations he didn't like. He's moving at breakneck speed at reconfiguring certain industries and certain aspects of the federal government. And here we are on cannabis, and it's basically silence. We had a Politico article from earlier in September that said there's going to be an announcement concerning cannabis in a matter of
2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks?
Weeks,
Yeah.
right? And here we are with nothing. He posts a curious video about the benefits of medical cannabis and the endocannabinoid system in seniors, and it was just sort of bizarre, but it was a positive tweet or truth. What do you call it? Truth?
It was posted to Truth Social, whatever you call that.
It was a positive Truth Social tweet about cannabis. But here we are, really like the only area and industry where you don't know where you stand with Donald Trump. And so the question I have is it even going to be, if it's anything at all, is it even going to be rescheduling, or is it going to be something different? Could this be just a bomb, an executive order that we're descheduling cannabis tomorrow?
It's possible, right? Like, as far as, if someone else is a better expert on the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, feel free to tell me that this is incorrect, but I don't think that there's any requirement in the Controlled Substances Act for rescheduling or descheduling other than HHS recommends, DOJ approves, and the president can make it happen, or some sort of congressional action. But if Robert Kennedy and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump got in a room together, they could deschedule cannabis tomorrow.
And what does that mean for your business, Richie?
Well, I think that's always been the case, right? Is every administration has the ability to do something, but they don't do something when the time is there.
Right, in the Biden administration, this administrative law judge of the DEA that was this big boondoggle that derailed the descheduling process or rescheduling process the last administration, that wasn't required. That was just something that an overburdened bureaucratic system decided to do to try to make this work from their perspective, but it just caused it to not work because that's what the system is designed to do.
Yeah, like what are the options that are in front? There is Trump maintains status quo, which is go down the DEA path. That's the path we seem to be on, maybe. Gives him some political cover if we don't choose that path. There's the executive order, which could be issued at any moment in time. Unknown as to how much of the letter police get involved. I think that from a cannabis perspective, we probably don't want a lot of the FDA involved in what we're doing. So there's a lot of unknowns.
That's inevitable.
Yep, so a lot of unknowns as to what that looks like. Could deschedule. Wow, that would be amazing for interstate commerce. I think a lot of us that come from traditional retail backgrounds would love the idea of interstate commerce. And then there's just do nothing at all. Do I think that something's going to happen? Yes, I do think something's going to happen. I do think it's going to happen slowly. And I think what you've seen is Trump is certainly opportunistic. And there have been a series of dust-ups politically that have taken attention away from this topic. But I do think something will happen. I just have no idea when, and I can't plan my business around what is unknown. So that's why we stay to the control what we can control.
I mean, the tea leaf I would read in this is one thing that Trump has demonstrated to all of us is that it's very personal. Policy is personal to him. Business is personal to him. And, we've seen, for instance, in the last Trump administration turned on a dime relative to nicotine vaping policy, and Juul specifically. Juul was rolled out as this ideal, healthy alternative to smoking. And then during the first Trump administration, that was reversed completely, and Juul was the victim of a large-scale government-backed PR campaign. And my understanding is, without seeing any reported documented evidence of it, is that a younger member of the Trump household was caught with a Juul, and so therefore Juul, federal policy relative to Juul changed on a dime. And if, and what we've seen relative to, say, the White House's policy on crypto relative to the Trump family's business interests in crypto, it would seem to indicate that, the tea leaves to watch is what the Trump family is or is not doing on the business side of this industry.
In terms of, last point on rescheduling, and then we can move on to hemp, because there's a real clear picture of what's going on there and out of Washington, D.C. these days, too.
Not clear enough.
If one figures that we're in this status quo for a while longer, and I know there's a lot of Ohio operators in the room who are cash flowing. There are Kentucky operators in the room who will be cash flowing soon. I think the most immediate impact that a rescheduling announcement would have in terms of opening up a ton of money on a balance sheet by getting rid of the burden of 280E, right? But I won't ask Richie to give up any state secrets about iAnthus's 280E minimization strategy to the extent they even have one, but what I'm observing as a practitioner with hundreds of clients across the most mature markets like California to incipient markets like Kentucky is people are thinking a lot about their corporate structure. This has been going on for a long time. How can we put more costs, quote, out of plant touching assets and take 280E out of the picture. But then there's also this tax opinion strategy, right? So I would estimate that more than half of the cannabis companies out there, and this is a very uneducated guess with a plus or minus, and with a margin of error much higher than statistically significant. But from talking to all my accountant friends, from talking to all my attorney friends, from talking to all our clients, I would say that more than half of the companies in the cannabis industry right now are relying on legal opinions to take and many law firms, including my own, write these opinions, to take a position that 280E is inapplicable to their business. And this is an uncertain tax position. This is a high-risk position. This is a position that does get disclosed to the IRS. But what you've already seen the industry do is say, we can't wait for rescheduling. We need to keep this money in our account until the IRS comes knocking for it. And that's something different than we were even seeing 2 or 3 years ago and before some of the larger MSOs started pioneering this strategy and publicly disclosing it in their 10Ks and the like. So, Richie, any thoughts on what companies, smaller operators out there might want to think about, any roadmap they should be doing as they think about tax strategy in the event that cannabis remains Schedule I for the foreseeable future?
But the key word is the strategy piece of it. I mean, we're all looking to play within a set of rules to which we understand and a set of rules to which we think are coming down the pipeline. But there are ways to be proactive and there are ways to be reactive to that. And I think that tax strategies take both of those formats. You can be very reactive in your tax strategy. You can be proactive in your tax strategy. I think the opinion letters are a requirement to be proactive in your tax strategy, if that is incumbent upon your business to be able to do so. I think opinion letters also take a variety of forms and factors, depending upon what stance of a clause you are really taking that uncertified tax position against. So not all opinion letters are created equal, but I do think that there is a requirement upon companies to be able to research that to see if it's important for where you think you're going to be in the future. So that is one area to be able to try to mitigate risk in the best way possible. And I think a lot of companies are actually pursuing that in a variety of different ways.
So Jim, I think you were in the room earlier. Your industry was taking some shrapnel. Some people in here are working to insert language into appropriations bills to maybe even get our government open again one day soon. That would have a dramatic effect on your industry. Others are working to put kind of a sensible middle ground together, or others are working to kill it entirely. I think I have that right, but tell us more about what's going on.
It is a strange world where members of our industry, our collective industry, are on the side of Andy Harris and Mitch McConnell, who have been notorious prohibitionists for the duration of their congressional careers, and really looking forward as a responsible hemp operator to getting to a place where responsible hemp operators and responsible cannabis operators, marijuana operators in a broader cannabis coalition can be on the right side of this conversation and not on the same side as folks like Andy Harris and Mitch McConnell. But yeah, there's a proposal on the books coming from House Agricultural Appropriations that would put Cornbread Hemp out of business. And, you know, we've got 100 employees now in Kentucky, and it's important for us to save our business and for the sake of our customers. And the sort of ham-fisted nature of the proposed prohibition has put us as responsible hemp operators on the same side of this battle line as operators who we would rather not be on the same side as. But given the current nature of those dividing lines, that's where we are, where we're advocating against the ban. Now, obviously, in a ideal world from a regulatory perspective, that 0.3% Delta-9 THC by weight allowance that we have in the 2018 Farm Bill should translate into a milligram cap in finished products, and that requires additional legislation, preferably through House Energy and Commerce, and that's a
What
future
milligram cap? 2, 5, 50?
In 2018, 0.3%. The only form factor alive in 2018 was CBD oils. CBD oils came in droppers. Those droppers are 1 milliliter. 1 milliliter is 1 gram. 0.3% of 1 gram is 3 milligrams. There's been inflation, so 10.
That's all video. We're going to run that back at some point. What do you do if there's a total THC ban that slips into an appropriations rider tomorrow? Are we going to see a parallel setup in the United States of America like there is with medical and adult use cannabis, where states are in open defiance of the federal government and keep their programs open? Or does that just not work because so many of you are an interstate commerce business on day one? Yeah, our business depends on interstate commerce, and so rescheduling our products breaks our system, and there'll be lawsuits based on due process because a $30 billion industry eliminated through an appropriations process with no votes, no markups, no hearings seems to violate basic due process. So we're hopeful for a better outcome so that we don't have to drag this out in litigation, but you know, sensible voices can find a lane, and we can craft a lane in hemp that lays the track work for descheduled cannabis outright in the future by providing a roadmap for how to get that done. And it's more difficult to get that done when taking fire from both sides. All right, we're running out of our time. I really wish we could continue this for so long because there's this just, I feel like we're scratching the surface, but obviously folks in the room know where to read all about all these day-to-day developments, including from your folks and our website and everybody here. But in our last 30 seconds, Richie, rescheduling in 2026, what are the Vegas odds?
Ooh, I say yes. I think it happens in 26.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 51%, 90%?
60%.
60%. Your Cornbread Hemp staying in business in 2026, what are the odds?
Good Christ, Jesse.
The scale of those questions was different.
It was different. It's like, hey, what's over here? Like, what?
Legislation passing that either quote unquote closes the loophole or substantially quote unquote closes the loophole.
My feeling on this changes by the hour, depending on the text messages that I'm receiving. I've put my phone down here because it was buzzing. It's probably related to this. It's probably changed my mind how I feel about this hour to hour. I feel pretty good at the moment that a all-out ban on hemp products will be unsuccessful through this appropriations process. Hemp customers have sent something like 85,000 emails into Congress in the last 2 months. Congress hears those messages from constituents. I feel like we will skate on a full prohibition. I am looking forward to thorough regulatory hearings in House Energy and Commerce and Senate Help Committees where this belongs and not in the appropriations process.
Gentlemen, we do have to wrap up here, so just one more comment if you can.
Hi, Elliot.
Hey.
Thank you, Elliot, for having us in Cincinnati.
All right, what a fabulous panel. Give them a warm round of applause. All right, we got Richie, Jim, and Jesse. Really great discussion. More of that in 2 weeks from today in D.C. Actually, all of these gentlemen will be there.